This week, we've seen frustrating flubs, high fantasy hunting, and omega energy obstacles. Let's dive right into what's on the pull list. This week, we're going to start with Absolute Martian Manhunter number 8, written by Dennis Camp with artwork by Javier Rodriguez. John's life is in shambles right now, and he parts ways with the Martian, albeit just for a night is the idea. But also, the idea of a threat presents itself in this anti life infected universe. I really love how Camp is toying with what is real and kind of using the idea of surrealism to kind of further that notion. There's a clear parallel, I feel like, that's being drawn between this and something like the work of Rene Magritte, specifically with like the treachery of images, the painting of the pipe that says beneath it, "This is not a pipe." Javier's approach also gets looser and sketchier, and as the connection between John and the Martian becomes more and more strained, it's a great visual representation of that distance that they're kind of like putting themselves into. And I love how that's kind of really, taking that visual approach to another level here. It's really showing what Dennis Camp is trying to convey within the narrative of the story. Absolute fantastic issue here. I'm enjoying maybe the second arc even more than the first one. All right, let's talk Absolute Wonder Woman number 16, written by Kelly Thompson with artwork by Hayden Sherman. It is a night out in the town as Diana is seen as the hero of Gateway City, as she rightfully should be. But the promise of Zatanna is kept here, and she is bringing her whole squad with her. Jordy Belair really gets to shine in this issue with some high contrast moments that are beautifully rendered on the pages here. The coloring on this book is something I feel like I haven't talked about as much as I really should, but it's such this great companion piece to Hayden Sherman's artwork. I feel like it really elevates the look of this book. On top of that, Thompson really gets to take a deep dive of the character of Steve Trevor and really kind of what makes him tick, what motivates him, what is the driving force behind why he is such a pure-hearted good person. The Supreme Court scene was really, really well written. Again, the absolute universe is really where it's at. This is another shining example of why that's true. All right, let's talk Astro Quantum number 1, written by Arturo Fabra and Andrea Muti, with artwork by Andrea Muti. So, left to die on a toxic planet, Ishmael is saved by a local who convinces him to team up with her and kind of maybe make their mark on the galaxy. This one took me by surprise. It was a bit of a coin flip type of book as to whether or not I was going to devote time to it or not, but it's a Mad Cave book. And if Mad Cave has done anything within the last year, it's earned my trust on new books that maybe would have fallen off of my radar, right? Had to give it a shot, and I'm really, really glad that I did. Issue 1 feels very fast, right? It reads very fast, but I think what the team is trying to do is establish the characters and the world as quickly as possible so they can start focusing on the actual adventures to follow. It has this great lived in gritty sci-fi world, right? There's no sleekness to it. Everything is kind of dingy and kind of like lived in and, definitely imperfect in every single way. So we get a little tidbit of our characters. We definitely know the world. Now, what is to come from here, time will tell on this. It seems like they're going to take maybe a bounty hunter kind of approach to this. They're criminals, but maybe it's like with a heart of gold kind of thing. I can't wait to see where they take this next, though. Let me know if you read this in the comments down below. All right, next up we have Author Immortal number 4, written by Frank Barberi with artwork by Morgan Beam. So, one of our main characters, Al, is becoming more and more intertwined with the world within the storybook realm, but links to their real life are kind of starting to peek through a little bit, and I think it's starting to show the truth behind this world. I still absolutely love the look of this book. Morgan Beam and what they're doing, it just makes it so expressive and honestly downright scary when it needs to be, especially when you're starting to peek through the veil of what this world is, really truly looking like. In a book where 99% of the characters are unlikable, though, I really have to applaud Barberi because they took this issue to almost exclusively focus on the character of Al, and I like how fleshed out that character is starting to feel right now. It was a little bit one note as, it was a background character, but now taking them to the forefront and kind of putting the spotlight on them, I felt like it was really well earned, and I really like how this is starting to push the narrative forward as well. Okay, it's time. Let's go ahead and talk about The Infernal Hulk #3, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson with artwork by Kev Walker. Yeah, that's right. I'm only mentioning one name for an artist. Why? Because this is the same song and dance as we got in The Incredible Hulk. And quite frankly, it's embarrassing. I have no idea why they continue to do this. And you know what? Here's another thing. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and talk the story here. Bruce and Betty have assumed these new identities and they're living their new lives, but Betty is struggling to kind of move on and let go to what she had because she was a previous Hulk character, right? And now she's depowered. She doesn't have that anymore. But here's the issue. PKJ is quietly putting together a really awesome storyline for the Hulk, and I want to care about that, but for whatever reason, Marvel keeps trying to sell us a bill of goods on the artwork. And it's really a disservice to PKJ, it's a disservice to the book, and it's a disservice to Kev Walker. He is going to be the artist, bill him as the artist and just make sure that his name is at the forefront. Because I have to say, the artwork that we get here is very good. But when you keep trying to bill us a book the same way you did on Incredible Hulk, as Nick Klein being the artist, it is setting up the book for failure because you're putting expectations on it that are unfair. And honestly, I'm kind of done with it. Okay, let's talk Iron Man #1, written by Joshua Williamson with artwork by Carmen Carnero. It's that time once again for the Stark Awards, and nothing could possibly put a damper on Tony's big night, right? Right? Well, maybe AIM and Madame Mask, though. Williamson is dialing up these big MCU vibes with this iteration of Tony, but he's playing with the classics as well. I kind of love how he's writing, kind of winking and nodding to the Fraction run, right? He mentions nightmares, right? And it's definitely a nod to the Five Nightmares storyline that was like really crystallized as one of the best Iron Man stories ever, really. And it's also kind of like toying with the idea of the Illuminati as well. It feels like Joshua Williamson is kind of like really showing his prowess in knowledge of the Marvel events that have happened in the past. Art wise, this book does feel like a Marvel book, right? Very serviceable, digital looking artwork that kind of, doesn't do it for me, gets the job done though. One thing I will give credit where credit's due though, we get a chunky Iron Man suit, and I kind of love me a chunky Iron Man suit. So for a premiere issue for a new #1, I think this did the trick. Next up, we have Kaya #33, written and drawn by Wes Craig. Jin and Kaya are separated on their own journeys, right? With their own obstacles and, objectives. But absence is proving to definitely make the heart grow fonder for each one of them. Dragons might pose some problems too, though. On the heels of Kaya and that future one shot that we just got previously, is really kind of nice to return to our adventure proper. This feels like an escalation issue, right? This is another great jumping on point, but we kind of get the explanation as to what the world is dealing with and what's going on with all of these factions, and everything is building up to this fever pitch. We're seeing the threats and we're seeing how much these siblings absolutely need each other more so than ever, and it just so happens to be that they've just decided to part ways. So we're going to see what that means for the world here. What it means for me as a reader, though, is that I'm having a heck of a time. All right, let's talk Lost Fantasy #7, written by Kurt Pierres with artwork by Luca Casalagueda. Henry has tracked down his father's killer in this issue, but to get to him, he'll have to kind of traverse this landscape where all of time basically happens simultaneously. This is a really cool, inventive way to showcase the past of our main characters and kind of present how close they truly are. We get to see, the upbringing of Henry, right, and his right hand man, as they were both previously fighting in other issues as Henry was possessed. Now we get to see how they grew that bond so closely, and it really kind of leads right up to that introductory issue as we see Henry being drawn in to investigate, a murder that's happened. Like the previous issues, though, we get just as many questions as we do answers. And this is definitely a doozy because it opens the door to explore a lot more things that are going on within the fantasy realm of Lost Fantasy. Great issue, great series. I'm having so much fun with it. It's also going to start expanding now as we get a kind of a sister series, Fireborn, that's going to be kicking off. Can't wait to see what that's going to be all about. For a single issue, though, this one was awesome. All right, we have a finale here, so let's talk Punisher Red Band number 5, written by Benjamin Percy with artwork by Julius Ota. Frank is now fully in control of himself and he's no longer, feeling the influence of the Kingpin. That doesn't bode well for almost anyone, any of the people who have used him as a weapon in the past. This is like a brutal warpath of retribution, and it has really, really lived up to that red band branding. Thank God, because there are some books out there that, quite frankly, I have no idea why they even tried to sell us a bill of goods on this polybagged red band version, because it didn't fit the bill. This really, really does. Ota's artwork really shines through. It feels gritty. It feels textured in the same way like Kaketo's artwork did on the Daredevil series when he was on that with Chip Zdarsky. This has actually been a really good reintroduction of the Punisher character after Jason Aaron's interpretation, which I really loved as well. Now, I'll be honest, it kind of gets me excited to see what Punisher proper is going to be, knowing that the team is kind of going to carry over out of the red band spectrum. We're going to see what that looks like here, but for this series and for this issue, it was pretty good. Next up, we have Skinbreaker number 5, written by Robert Kirkman with artwork by David Finch. The warnings of the previous chieftain now are starting to rear their ugly head, but the old ways prove to be too deeply rooted in the leadership's mind for change to actually occur. So, this is like the first time in this series that for me, I kind of grew tired of the story that's being told here. The pace and the structure of the story kind of left me feeling a bit like, okay, moving on. It also felt to me like the art took a little bit of a step back as well, right? You could see in those first few issues how much effort was put forth really to like make this the most David Finchy book ever, right? You see the time and the effort and the love and care. And while this book didn't look bad by any means, it felt like a David Finch monthly schedule kind of book, not one that took 8 years to complete, which we know has kind of been what we've been promised, and that's the bill of goods we got. So overall, the series is starting to kind of, I don't know, weighing on me a little bit. I'm growing a little bit tired. We know this is a finite series, though, so we'll see how everything finishes out. This one was probably the lowest ranking issue of the series so far. Next up, let's talk Spirit of the Shadows number 1, written by Daniel Ziegler with artwork by Nick Cagnetti. So in this new premiere issue from Oni, we have a man who is like drugged down into this hellish landscape where he learns that he passed away in the realm of mortals, and in order to move on, he'll need to review a book that was his life. This book oozes influence from classic comic book creators, right? It has artwork that has tinges of like Charles Burns and Tom Scioli, while honoring the work of people like Steve Ditko as well with the artistic approach on that. Really beautiful looking book. The narrative also feels really classic and silver agey, right? It has that, I don't know, that classic comic book feel while also feeling new and fresh. It's kind of an exciting story. They play with a lot of cool ideas here as well with the character that has tinges of odd superhero things, kind of like Doctor Strange levels of oddities, right? But there's also, I don't know, mysteries to unfold here. We get new characters, and we definitely get the sense that our hero may not be as heroic as he thinks he might be. So I'm going to be along for the ride with this one. The look of this book, though, is absolutely stunning. All right, let's talk Superman number 34, written by Joshua Williamson with artwork by Eddie Barrows. Superboy Prime and Lois, they need to get this vital information from the Fortress of Solitude that they've gotten from Kal-El's parents back to Doomsday, who is kind of like the time trapper, a future version. So he's not really the Doomsday that killed Kal-El, or he kind of is, but a different version, right? But they need to get it back to him, and the evil legion of superheroes stand in their way. Barrow's artwork really looks great here. It's this awesome textured lines, but I guess more important than like the texture of it is the pacing and the structure. It's just really laid out in such a great way that the visual storytelling shines through. This is totally a me thing, right? That what I'm about to say, but Superboy Prime's fourth wall breaking still makes me cringe. But I will say this, Joshua Williamson's approach is clearly building towards making him more than what he currently is right now. So It doesn't hurt as much as it normally would hurt. And again, that's totally a me thing. It's like the Deadpool of everything. But I have to say, for the issue here titled Superman, even though it didn't have Superman in it all that much, still really worked. And with my runner up book of the week, let's talk Absolute Batman number 16, written by Scott Snyder with artwork by Nick Dragotta. So, Batman's friends have irrevocably been changed through the actions of Bane, but Bruce kind of holds out hope for Waylon and he seeks the help of an Amazonian. My God, this was a fun book. This has been a fun a series that has like ramped up the fun in each and every issue, and this one definitely dials it back up as well. Snyder has such a great voice for Diana and the friendship between her and Bruce. It really shines through here in the same way that it did when Kelly Thompson was writing the character of Bruce in Absolute Wonder Woman. They deserve a team up once a year, honestly, at this point, because I love the friendship that they're developing. The artwork here is really brilliant as well, as we all kind of know. Dragotta is known for his manga influences, the bombast, but the quieter moments really ring through here. Bruce enters this dreamscape where he gets to meet up with a family member, and the conversation that they have is powerful, only made more powerful by Nick's artistic portrayal of everything that's happening within that scene. This was such a great issue of Absolute Batman. It really, really sung through, and I can't wait to see where they go here because after this, we're getting Poison Ivy. And with my top comic of the week, let's talk Conan the Barbarian number 28, written by Jim Zub with artwork by Fernando Dagnino. The people have revolted, and the Mad King must be bested. But leaders amongst each tribe are vying for the crown. All the while, the myth of Conan grows with each battle that is won. Zub is writing Conan like a force of nature, an instinctual warrior and leader that craves for nothing. But now he's starting to see the weight of his accolades in comparison to the greed of those who seek power, including those leaders of the tribes. In the same way that the previous events, the Blackstone event and the Serpent event, were enriching the story of the singular Conan series, this one that we're talking about right here, this series is now enriching those events as well. The way that everything has been laid out shows that the team over this book, everyone involved at Titan Comics with Jim Zub, the artist, everyone, they're arguably as strategic as Conan himself is on the battlefield. Man, Conan is such a fantastic read, but now knowing what we know and knowing kind of what is coming for Conan and how this ends with the crown being handed over, I gotta say, I've never been more excited to be a Conan fan, and that's really much to this series, right? This has made me a new Conan fan throughout these last couple of years. I'm having such a great time with it. All those things I said are the reason why it's absolutely worthy of top comic of the week. And that's what I've got for you this week, but I'm more curious. What did you read and what were your thoughts? Do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe, consider memberships, and be part of the panel. Leave me a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you next week.